Well, hello everyone. I'm David Neff here, and welcome to my channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is an open mic, and if you're not familiar with the open mic format, anyone can jump into the stream, and you can just talk about whatever. The link to join is in the description, and it is also pinned in the side chat down below. So come on in, join us. The water is fine. So far, there's no one waiting in the back, so hopefully some people join me so I'm not just talking to myself. I had a debate last night with, or not last night, but one Friday with, hey, Paul, how are you? Okay, well, I guess you would just, so, everybody will kill me. Well done on your debate. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Hello again, welcome. Jorge, what did you think of my debate? Paul, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, good. Just making sure everything's working on my end. Yeah, so the debate with Bill Morgan was on Friday, and Ian Chen debated the infamous Nephilim 3 on Saturday. From what I understand, it was not really a debate since Nephilim 3 rage quit in less than 20 minutes. So well done, Ian. Ian said he will jump in when he gets home. So anyway, what's on our agenda today?
Aren't you supposed to set the agenda?
Well, it is pretty much just whatever. So I guess, Jorge, what do you think of the debate? Who do you think won?
Between you and Bill or between Ian and Neff?
Between me and Bill.
Well, I guess my standard go-to with these conversations is the debate was very par for the course. I don't think much originals brought up. No offense on either end. I think if you aligned with Bill's side, you'd say Bill won. If you aligned your side, you'd say you won.
Right.
I don't mean that as an insult to you in any way or Bill, but these conversations always kind of follow the same beat, I find.
Yeah, it's pretty much all types of stuff like this is just rehashing the same topics over and over again and just bringing up different points. I kind of wish debates like this was more different topics to discuss. Ian says I won. That was all straw man. Thank you, Ian. And I'm sure you won your debate too, since definitely free quit.
By definition, yeah.
Yeah, so he won by default. So, Jorge, did you happen to see the debate with Ian? And definitely,
I showed up like 30 minutes after the fact because I was putting my kid down and I missed it. So I didn't think being late would negate the entire conversation, but shows what I know.
Yeah, I missed it too, and apparently Modern Day Debate took it down.
I don't blame them. It's you don't want to. If you want to have run a debate channel, you don't want to have things like that as your examples.
Yeah, because that was pretty bad on the moderation. I kind of wish. Sorry, I wish they would have at least put it up or be able to see it. Past live streams. Yeah, and it's been taken down, which is kind of sad because it would definitely be one for the one to remember.
Yeah. I don't know. I find these super broad debates always lacking bite. When your debate is creation v evolution, that's such a stupidly big conversation that like you can never really point in on something, so you can't really, at least that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, then again, I don't do debates, so who am I to judge, right?
Yeah. Creationist, David Kneff, great job reaching out to Dan. So yeah, Dr. Dan, if you want to jump in and we can talk about the Jensen debacle, I would love to have you in, Dr. Dan, to go over this and just kind of dissect everything with me. But yeah, so basically, long story short, with Dr. Daniel Jensen's paper, um, dating mitochondrial Eve back to 4,500 years ago, I decided to do a little bit of digging and contacted both Dr. Jensen and Dr. Ging. Um, Dr. Jensen's entire work is based off of Dr. Ging's pedigree study. And spoiler alert, he completely misrepresented Ging's work. And you have to wonder whether or not Dr. Jensen is either a liar or he's incompetent, one or the other. And given the fact that he is Harvard educated, I doubt he's incompetent. Hey, Ian, welcome.
Hey, David. Hey, all gang. How you doing, guys?
Hey, Ian.
Well, thank you.
Hi. So I'm really sorry, David. I'm just waiting in the car. My wife is actually seeing the doctor because of COVID. I'm not allowed up there. So at some point, I may have to drop off.
Oh, geez, best of luck to you.
Yeah, no,
it's okay. She's pregnant for you guys that don't know, and she's got gestational diabetes. So every week she has to get tested, but it's okay.
Well, congratulations. I have a 1-year-old myself, and it's welcome to hell.
Actually, that's her calling now. Sorry. Hey, David, I've got to go, and I'll dial back
yeah,
when I
we're
can.
something will probably be a while.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Sorry about that.
Take care.
Yeah, that is weird. Paul Kamish, StreamYard is not letting me back in. That is weird. Try this link. Kidding. I don't know why it is not working for him.
So, David, what if you were to say something you did wrong in your debate with Bill? What would it be?
I guess one thing that I did wrong would be just letting the topic just go about everything but evolution, talking about stuff that is completely irrelevant, such as abiogenesis and all that.
And dead dogs.
Yeah, like sometimes the purpose like that is irrelevant to the topic. Like just stick to the topic of evolution. I end up just kind of going along with it and just going on bunny trails. But it's like, okay, the topic is about evolution. Let's talk about the theory of evolution. Let's talk about the biology behind it. What part of evolution do you not accept? Because what I found with Bill Morgan is that he seemed to accept pretty much speciation. He accepted all of that, but he didn't want to call it evolution. And when I pointed stuff out, he simply just hand waved things away. Said, "Oh well, that's still a virus or whatever." So yeah.
Yeah, that's always an issue, right? There's I haven't really found a good retort to that where people always want to bring it down and down and down with the conversation, right? That's yeah, on one hand you kind of want to say just do evolution, but that doesn't seem to work practically a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So it would be nice, but what do you think is a good response to that? I mean, how do you propose doing that? Oh crap! I deleted something that one.
Like, part of me kind of wants to go along with. He did bring up cosmology, like what was the origins of the universe. Like that's also not relevant to the topic of evolution. Like,
yeah,
it's still fun to talk about, but like, come on, evolution is a theory on the biodiversity of life. It is not a theory on the origins of life, nor is it a theory on the origins of anything else but biodiversity. And I just don't understand why people don't understand that. It seems like creationists wanted to jump to abiogenesis, but of course that's a completely different field of science.
Well, do you follow why they think they're connected?
Well, yeah, because they want to harper on a false dilemma. It's creationist false dilemma where no, one sec. Trying to.
What is happening?
I'm just these things, but
I've got to talk really quiet. The wife's in bed and she'll kill me if I wake her up.
My wife's sleeping too. I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have my little messages.
yeah. So, Paul, who do you think won the debate between me and Bill?
I think your argument was better than his. He was basically arguing from irreducible complexity, which has been debunked so many times.
Yeah, and of course,
It's
I don't know
yeah,
why it's not brought up because Dr. Miller just destroyed that argument in an open court. Um, 1 second, I'm getting it from Dr. Miller.
yeah. For me, you can't use an argument
Yeah,
like God as the explanation until you have proven God exists.
yeah,
They're trying to say that God exists because God answers the argument. If you get which way I'm going, they're putting the horse before the cart. They're saying that because we don't understand this and because it's so complex, therefore it must be a God. But it can only be a God once you've proven a God exists.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's this false dilemma between um, evolution versus intelligent design. And that's why they always go to abiogenesis, because they feel that if they disprove abiogenesis, then they necessarily disprove creationism and, well, they disprove all of evolution, which of course is nonsense.
Yeah. And they also came up with the same argument they always come up with, which is that they've been trying in the laboratory, they've been trying to create life for the last 50, 60 years, and they've never managed to do it. And the day we manage, if we ever manage to make life in the laboratory, you can absolutely guarantee that their argument is going to be, look,
It was intelligent.
that proves intelligent design because it was intelligent scientists who managed to make life. So they would still argue the same arguments that for life to exist, it has to have intelligence behind it. So if you can't make life, they'll say, look, we're that intelligent, we can't make it, so therefore it must be something more intelligent than us. And if we do make life, they will say, look, it was an intelligent being that made life in the laboratory, therefore proving that God made life originally because it's intelligent. You can't win. No matter which way you go, you cannot win.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree 100%. That's always going to be their go-to response. So, and then of course they're going to say, well, you brought up, you used already made chemicals, but you have to get it from absolutely nothing. But of course that's nonsense.
Anyway, I'll jump out because I don't want to keep talking because if my voice echoes like hell and it wakes the wife up. So I'll jump out.
Yeah.
It's 20 to 3 in the morning. So if I wake her up, I'm dead. I'm not at work tomorrow.
We don't want you to die, Paul. We want you to live.
I don't want you to die either.
All right, I'll carry on listening, but I'll leave the chat because if I carry on talking, I know I'll raise my voice and I'll wake her up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I've already got me thing made. So
that's cute. Take care, Paul.
Catch you later. Bye.
So yeah, I'm actually going to be working on a video right now coming out with Dr. Jensen. I emailed Dr. Ding and I DM'd Dr. Jensen on Facebook and he responded. So that'll be a very good video coming up.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's always fun to have extra people and get extra insight into how things work. That's always exciting. Collaborating, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I spoke to Dr. Ding, who was the lead author of the paper, and needless to say, he didn't seem to be too happy that Dr. Jensen was utilizing his work, and we can wait for the upcoming video on that. I hope Dr. Dan comes in so he can kind of debrief it with me. It's funny because I was talking to him, to Dr. Jensen on Facebook, and as soon as I mentioned, hey, Dr. Dan is doing a series of responses to your work, would you guys like to have a little bit of a discussion? And he did not respond at all.
Aww.
So yeah, you can predict he just immediately respond.
Yeah, well, it's how that game is played sometimes.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me.
Anyway, speaking of abiogenesis, I found this really interesting blog post on the logic of science, which is one of my favorite websites, arguing that life actually constantly arises from quote unquote living matter, because everything there's no such thing as living matter. This is what they say. Quote. I'm going to share the screen and put the link for the sidebar chat as well. Yeah. That there is no such thing as living matter. The dichotomy between living and non-living is completely false, one that is perpetuated by the way that all of us talk, but is a critical topic when it comes to abiogenesis, because creationist entire argument hinges on this false distinction between living and non-living matter. The problem here is that matter is never alive, but when it is arranged in certain ways, it results in chemical reactions that produce the properties known as life. In other words, living organisms are composed entirely of non-living matter. You are, for example, predominantly composed of the elements oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. These are non-living atoms that come together to form non-living molecules. When these molecules are arranged in certain ways, they chemically react to produce a living cell, and those living cells collectively form a living organism. You are alive and your cells are alive, but the matter that makes up those cells is not alive. It's simply a specific arrangement of the non-living atoms. And this may seem like an entirely pointless semantic quibble, but
David, I don't know how I feel about this argument. I mean, aren't you kind of opening yourself up to the spirit rebuttal, where obviously when we are living, there is a difference, and therefore the spirit, and therefore God? I mean, isn't that kind of opening up to that argument?
Yeah. Now I'm just going to finish this argument real quick.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. By definition, it arises from non-living matter. When you make a sperm or an egg cell, for example, non-living matter is simply rearranged into a living cell. Yes, that arrangement is being performed by living cells, but they are themselves are simply an arrangement of non-living matter, and they are simply providing the chemicals, aka non-living matter, and an environment necessary for spontaneous chemical reactions to arrange the chemicals into a living cell. The matter is never alive at any point in the process. So again, it's simply about chemistry, not simply about consciousness. Several things. Okay.
Yeah, but are you still going? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to read the whole blog post.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't. I see a failure in that argument in that you can't just dismiss consciousness. It seems like you want to try to say that's not relevant to the conversation when consciousness is kind of the thing about it, right? I mean, to me at least.
Yeah. So chemistry can't explain consciousness. They actually do respond to that argument in this blog post. Chemistry by arguing that chemistry can't explain consciousness, then respond in several ways. First, prove it. So prove that chemical reactions can't produce consciousness. We are, of course, biological machines. We breathe in oxygen, which is transported to the cells. To the hemoglobin in your blood, the oxygen as well as the glucose from your food is then used for a complex chemical reaction known as cellular respiration. This produces the molecule ATP, which can be reduced to ADP, resulting in a release of energy. That degradation of ATP to ADP powers your body. Every function of the body is controlled by chemistry and reducible to chemistry. Even when you are thinking, that is a result of chemistry in your brain. Given all that, there is no good reason to think that consciousness is not also just a product of complex chemistry. So again, that's not really a difficult pill to swallow if you understand biochemistry.
I guess before we go any further, is it just me or do you sound kind of muffled? Like, do I sound clear to you?
Yeah, you sound clear. Do I sound muffled to you?
I find it hard to parse out your words. Yes.
Okay,
I don't know why. You haven't always sounded like that. So.
Okay, let me try something real quick.
Yeah, like I was following you, but like really pay attention to listen, and that's
Okay, how is this? Is this any better?
yes, that is more crisp to me. Yes.
Okay, good. And that sounds good.
Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
Yeah.
So, if you want to repeat your last like minute or two, please. That way I can refollow you.
Yeah. Let me put it back in there. So basically, the argument that chemistry can't explain the issue of consciousness is basically the fact that there is no good reason to believe that chemistry cannot explain consciousness. That chemistry is necessary. That consciousness is necessarily a byproduct of chemical reactions.
Yes.
So again, um,
but you don't you do see the inherent issue with that argument in that you're opening up the big I can't explain it, right?
right.
Like you can't explain consciousness, and it kind of feels like you're trying to say that's fine that I can't explain it.
Right. Well, I mean, saying that I cannot explain it or I don't know is perfectly fine. But what is not okay is to say I don't know, therefore magic. That is what's not okay. To lead to okay, because we can't understand it here, then therefore it must be God.
I agree with that. I don't think that's a good rebuttal, but I don't know. I mean, I guess could you expand this point a bit for me, please, so I understand what you're trying to get at. I have like a gut feeling that I don't like it, but I don't know why.
Yeah, so I guess I understand your response. Let me just pointing it out so that when you make a spell, so basically all of matter is simply not living. The matter is never alive at any point in the process. So yeah, I'm just kind of going back and kind of reading through their arguments real quick to make sure I understand it. I need to make a brief comment about consciousness. Chemistry cannot explain consciousness, but again, anyone who makes that argument needs to first prove that point. If they want to say chemistry cannot explain consciousness, on what basis do they actually make that claim?
Oh, okay. So
if I use that argument in a debate and they say, well, chemistry can't explain consciousness, then the obvious question then is to prove it.
Yeah, then you run into that irreducible complexity issue wherein I can't say it now, therefore I can't say it at all, and that's not really a good argument. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were taking this. The way I took your initial argument was the separation between the chemical and the metaphysical. Therefore, we don't have to worry about the metaphysical. So I guess I took your argument wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs to be developed a bit more before you present it, because the way you present it didn't land with me.
Yeah, I'll just read a little bit longer to it. And to recap, again, let me just share the screen here.
I could just be not getting it to it. It could just be a thing, obviously.
So matter itself is not living. Rather, when the non-living chemicals are arranged together and react in certain ways, they produce living organisms that consist entirely of non-living matter. Furthermore, the process and actions of these living organisms are simply the result of complex chemical reactions. Additionally, these chemical reactions occur spontaneously, and that they will occur on their own given the right chemical conditions and the right environment. Indeed, all living organisms are accurately described as biochemical machines with these spontaneous reactions driving their function. As a result of this, it is completely fair to say that life constantly arises from non-living matter, because each new cell is formed by arranging non-living matter into a configuration that will result in the chemical reactions that produces properties that we describe as life. Rather, it is likely that the environment would have been conducive to these types of reactions. So, yeah, but again, there have been a lot of really successful experimentations on abiogenesis. We still don't know exactly how everything came together, but that is okay. Different models on abiogenesis, and all these different models are a good thing because it helps us to distinguish viable models and non-viable models.
Yeah, I think that flies with me. But then again, I'm on your side, right?
Yeah.
For debate prep, you don't necessarily need to just play to your own party. That's redundant.
Yeah.
What do you think the response to that is? Like, and like, what do you think the response is, and how do you think we can best respond to that? Right?
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing the go-to argument will be go to the issue of consciousness and all that. I'm not quite sure exactly how someone might respond to it.
Well,
But,
I mean, they could bring up the soul body difference. You know, the fact that we can't actually find consciousness, therefore dictates that we won't find consciousness. Which, I mean,
yeah,
I have an issue with. But on the other hand, it's not. I don't consider it unreasonable. I mean, I see no reason to think that there are things we simply don't know. I mean,
right.
you know, it's a tough one.
Yep.
Sorry, am I boring you? I know I'm trying to do my best here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, you're good. But I'm just viewing my messages real quick.
Do you have any other debates scheduled?
No, I haven't any debates. Actually, yes. I do have one debate coming. Actually,
Cybersecurity one, right?
yeah, the cybersecurity debate. The topic is. Let me pull it up. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Midnight.
So the topic of my debate one Friday is resolved. The benefits of the United States federal government's use of cyber operation outweigh the harms. So, excuse me, of offensive cyber operations outweigh the harms.
And what is your stance?
I will be arguing in the negative that basically I will be arguing that the harms outweigh the benefits.
Give me the 2 minute please.
Okay, sure. So this is kind of part of the debate tournament that I'm going to be doing. I'm hosting a live debate tournament on my home site, and we're using what's called the Lincoln Douglas format, which is very common in high school and college level debates. Basically, there's organizations and debate tournaments, and they pretty much have a new topic every night. Let's see here. It's getting too late for me. Let's see here. Let's see. It's getting too late for me to join, but let's see. Set something up for sometime in a few weeks. Perfect. Send me an email and we will work on it. I'm looking forward to speaking with you, Dr. Dan, about the fallout between Jensen and Ding. That should be quite entertaining to watch. Hello, Midnight. How are you?
I've been better, but how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
That's good. So, is this just open mic, or what are we talking about?
Just open mic, so whatever's on your mind.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? How much? Actually, I was gonna make a joke, but I was gonna fail. But yeah. But my joke is that I was gonna make a joke, but it failed. So, meta.
Yep.
I have no clue how to respond to that statement.
I don't know either. I'm just talking. I figured I saw David was live, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm bored. I might as well go in.
Hey, why not? Who knows where these conversations lead? So.
Yep.
So, David, what was continue your cybersecurity thing, please?
Okay, yeah. So I'm sorry, kind of got sidetracked here. So yeah, the Lincoln Douglas debate tournament. So again, that's the format that is used in kind of college level and high school level debates. So the debate structure is very different from what you would hear from modern day debate or Standing for Truth or whatever. So the debate is 6 minute pro constructive, 3 minutes con and cross examining the affirmative, 7 minute con constructive and rebuttal, 3 minutes pro cross examines con, 4 minutes pro rebuttal and defense, 6 minute con rebuttal and defense, and then 3 minutes pro rebuttal and defense. So
wow.
So it's basically the whole debate is less than 50 minutes long. Each debater has 4 minutes of prep time, which they may use at their discussion, so long as it does not interrupt an ongoing speech or cross-examination. So yeah, that is the topic of the debate that I'm doing. I have not yet prepared for it, so I am still in the works for it.
Is this something that you care about, or did you just like take the debate because you thought it was interesting?
I did the debate topic because it was an interesting topic and kind of flipped points to see who was arguing which side. I'm leaning more towards the con side myself due to my libertarian stance on social issues and privacy. But it's definitely a topic that I need to research a little bit more in depth.
I mean, unless Midnight has something, I mean, we could try that. I could try playing devil's advocate for you a bit. So
yeah, perhaps we could set something up later in the week once I have my arguments, maybe sometime Thursday or whatever.
You're going very high school with this, where you're assigned a position and you must just do it. That's a very high school. Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes in the college, but yeah, I enjoy these types of debates. I enjoy Lincoln Douglas, and I never did policy debates or public format or congressional debates, but that is something I'm interested in doing.
Hey, I mean, at the end of the day, right? You're learning something. So
Yeah, exactly.
you know, I think people take these debates a bit. I understand taking the debate seriously, but we're just a bunch of laymen having layman conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And we're inherently, but for the very fact that we are laymen, we're basically parroting what the scholars and the experts have written and saying, hey, this is what the evidence for the experts, and debating that. So basically, we're just parroting what everyone else is saying.
Yep. Which again isn't a bad thing, but simultaneously, there's only so far it reaches.
I mean, if you can read a paper and make an argument based on the paper, are you really parroting?
Right, exactly. But of course, if you're stating for truth pretty much parrots answers to Genesis,
and that's what parroting is.
Yeah, and that's
parrot, whatever. You get the point.
Right, exactly. And I would be parroting whatever the experts like Dr. Dan, Dr. Fairbanks, Dr. Miller, and what all they say and what's put in the peer-reviewed journal. But that's basically what we're inherently doing because we're by definition laymen. And yeah, we'll still be here in 10 minutes, so you'll be good. So you're not going to miss it.
Interestingly enough, I talked to Bill Morgan yesterday.
Oh, interesting. Did you call him?
Yes. I figured, what the hell? I figured I'd call him. He was nice to talk to, but he was trying to get me into the fold.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I asked him if he's interested in doing another debate with me, he says that he's a one-trick pony, so he's not going to do another discussion or debate with me.
I mean, that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
That the whole one-trick pony is... wow, my head hurts, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, okay, now that I really think about it, the way he said it is really messed up.
Yeah, actually,
right? A one-trick pony.
Yeah, sorry. Excuse me. My apologies. He said I usually am a one-trick pony. Basically, one debate per customer. Though he said he's honored to talk to me and outside the debate field, so it's not like he's not going to be talking to me or anything like that. But
did he come to the live stream? You invite him to the live stream?
I did invite him to last night's live stream. I invited everyone pretty much, so he knew about it. And I told him he could join. But,
gotcha.
Hello, Harry. Welcome. Thank you for joining us in the sidebar chat.
So yeah, I mean, unless someone else has a topic, I'm fine with. I don't know what I'm fine with. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you're fine with being a robot.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, like, my positions. I don't really have any questions on my positions to run over with you guys. So
Yeah.
My position is that I don't know if there's a God, but the universe is neat.
Yeah.
That'll work.
We are Stardust.
I guess Neff, did you have any? Did you find any of Bill's arguments more convincing than you expected that you'd want to talk about? Or
No, not really. I kind of expected what he would be saying. I listened to his debate with the Gutsick Gibbon, aka Erica Gutsick Gibbon, and he pretty much brought up most of the same points. He brought up the puppy milk and stuff like that, which he did not bring up in his debate with Hikaru, which I found to be interesting. But again, he did the typical creation stuff that I would expect. Talk about abiogenesis, talk about all of this, kind of hand waved what I said about, hey, HIV is a system and we see this evolving, but it's still a virus. So it's kind of the typical thing. Like, what do you expect it to be? If it suddenly became a human, then evolution would be falsified. I do find it interesting that what creationists think is going to confirm evolution would actually refute it.
yeah, that I found. I remember him saying that argument. I too found it weird. This unfalsifiability of evolution concept. That's very foreign to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the classic rabbit and the Precambrian, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like it's super falsifiable.
Yeah. But the thing
Oh,
is,
I've been doing
the brand of young Earth creationism. Hey, Leo, how are you, my friend? Good to see you.
How goes it?
Leo's always got opinions. Fantastic.
Yeah, kind of getting something to do.
Always.
Hey, Leo, who do you think won my debate with Bill, between me and Bill?
I normally don't say that people win debates, but I do think that you won that debate. It seemed to me that, and I got to give Bill a lot of credit. I think he was a very respectful.
Oh yeah, I like Bill Morgan a lot. He's a very respectful guy. Leo, you're freezing.
Yeah, that happens. I'm gonna speak and then I'm gonna go dark and move downstairs. That way I'm a little bit closer. But I wanted to say quickly before I do that I think he did a better job at attempting to defend his worldview than most people would, or
Yeah,
at least a more sincere attempt.
Yeah, he was very cordial and very respectful, and so I will say I really liked Bill, and I was kind of wishing he would. But I reached out because I wanted to do another debate with him because I enjoyed it, but he said usually one debate per customer. Though I'm sure I'm gonna call him and do some things on the side because I definitely would really like to get to know Bill Morgan more and all of that.
Yeah, I do think, however, that the style argument rather that he was making was, in my opinion, a poorly constructed irreducible complexity argument. That's most of them are.
I'd agree with that statement.
Right, exactly.
Which I think was not surprising. I wouldn't say it was very surprising.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Yeah, but I mean, it's tough because that argument's brought up so much that I almost feel like there should be more effort put into responding to it, because our response is always, well, that's a bullcrap argument, and that feels like we're butting heads against walls at that point.
Yeah. Which is why I think that honestly debating creationists is a good thing, because then their arguments are being rebutted in hopefully a meaningful manner, which shows people that these arguments really just don't hold up, and hopefully that can convince a few minds.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, I
something
guess.
that I aim for.
Just having the battles out there in the aether is in and of itself useful. Yeah.
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 Oh, it looks like Ian Chen said he might join here in a few minutes.
Yeah, he joined earlier, but he said he's on his way home. But yeah, I I wish I was there for the debate last night. I really wanted to be there, but I had something else come up. Also,
It
I did
wasn't
not
much of
ask.
a debate if you haven't heard.
Yeah, I heard,
Exactly.
but I kind of want to be filled in. I missed the drama.
So and Ian's whole thing was to just kind of poke fun at creationism and creationists, and Neffy just didn't like that. And in probably the first couple minutes of Ian,
Leo, you're freezing up again.
oh shit. How about now?
You're good now.
Okay, yeah, it didn't even show that I froze. I don't know what the issue is. But yeah, he left within the first couple minutes of Ian's opening, which was funny. Ian finished his opening and Neffy was gone, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
where did he go?
yeah. I guess he felt like he was. I guess Nephilim 3 felt he was disrespecting creationists.
I guess so. Which there's not much within their worldview to be respected,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yep. I know Aaron Ra has done several videos on Nephilim 3,
Yeah,
and they're
Yeah.
always the best. I like Aaron Ra.
so do I. He did a 3-part series on Nephilim's introduction that he gave in my debate with Nephilim.
Yeah, and that was a good series. I haven't finished watching it, but it's, of course, really good as always.
Speaking, go ahead. Sound like you were going to say something.
Oh no, go right ahead.
So, speaking of debates, have you either of you two seen my debate with Robertson Jenis?
Yeah, what happened?
Geocentrist bullcrap. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I'm pretty sure you did watch that, Orge, or caught some of it. Because I think I might have seen a
Yeah.
comment go by.
I watched as much as I was physically
Capable of handling.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so give me a rundown of what happened.
So
Oh,
the debate
Jesus.
was pretty much just him claiming that general relativity disproves special relativity and shows there's an ether, and that his main argument was to try to pull from. In general relativity, there's something called the equivalence principle, but there's also sort of an equivalence principle in special relativity as well, which tells us that it doesn't matter what you're measuring from what frame of reference.
You're freezing up.
Essentially stating that there is no preferred frame of reference from which you can measure things in reality. So, to give an example, if you have a car going past, say, a light post at 60 miles an hour, there's no difference from the car moving past the light post at 60 miles an hour and the light post being stationary, or the car being stationary and the light post moving past it at 60 miles an hour. There's no mathematical or physical difference between those two. So you could say that the Earth is stationary if you really wanted to, and that everything is moving around it. But just because there's no difference between that and the Earth actually moving doesn't mean that it is true. And he kept trying to argue that because of that, the Earth is at the center of the universe, which isn't the case.
Yeah, so basically, it's pretty much the same lines of arguments that Dr. Weyer uses, or the the AS convention that he uses.
Yeah, he pulled the same strings out. And somebody even commented during that debate, this is what it would be like if Leo debated Jason Lyle. And I was like, I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment, but I'm taking it as the latter.
Yeah,
And I actually talked with Landon Curtin-Knoll last night, who's
nice.
a professional mathematician, astronomer, and computer scientist. He said he watched that debate. I didn't know that until last night. And he said he thinks I did a good job, that I was accurate, very accurate in representing the science.
yeah.
And that
Oh, fantastic.
he did say, and I know, depending on how much Orge watched, if he watched 40, a half an hour or more, he's going to know this. I had to say, I said probably almost 24 times, and I'm not joking, at that night, that science doesn't prove things. That what we do is we formulate models to describe the observations that we make, and the better that these models comport with those observations and help explain why they occur and make predictions, the better models they are. And that's what relativity is. It's
You're frozen.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. Hey, Ian, how are you, my friend?
Hey, David. Hey, Leo or Gay. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Sorry, I was just
Doing
rushing
good.
home as quick as I could, so apologies for that.
No problem. I do believe
Leo.
Ian watched my debate. I think he
Yeah,
did with
Leo,
Robert
to what-
Jenner.
Man, I've watched all your debates, Leo. I love your debates. I especially, I know some people might find it rude, but I like the way you kind of say, no, you don't. No, you
Yeah.
don't. Just get right to the heart of, when they start saying shit. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Go ahead, Orge.
I was just gonna agree with what you were saying at the end of that, Leo. There is a Okay, I lost my train of thought. Yes, I agree with you, Leo. There you go. Yes.
But I was actually proud to hear that somebody like Landon Cartnell, who I have to be honest with you guys, is one of the smartest people I think I've ever interacted with in my life.
He's funny too.
Yeah, he is. He knew Richard Feynman. I mean, I think he studied under Richard Feynman. He knows Leonard Susskind, knew Stephen Hawking. Just a extremely intelligent person. I was very honestly kind of humbled to hear him say that he thought I performed well in that debate and that I accurately represented the science.
It's cool to meet your idols, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I can't wait till I meet Sean Carroll.
Oh yeah, I love Sean Carroll.
If I get big enough on YouTube, who knows? I might be able to get him to come on my channel to have a discussion.
Yeah. The best debate of all time is
Say it.
Carroll versus Craig.
Yes.
And I say that because Dr. Craig.
That's the one you showed, David, right? I remember there was a stream you showed a debate. You had an opening that was based on that. Was that one?
I'm sorry?
There was a debate or some sort of discussion that you had where you showed an opening of a particular debate. Was it that specific one?
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
He was reading from something that Sean Carroll had stated in that debate with William Lane Craig.
Okay. Yeah, that was.
I remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
What's the temperature where you're at, Ian?
My AC cocked it last weekend. It's 37 degrees at the moment. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
No, that's hot.
Yeah.
That is warm. That's almost 100. Yeah. That's probably over. No, that's getting close to 100 degrees.
That's not hot. When it gets to the middle of summer, we get 42, 43, 44 degree days. That's when it's hot.
Yeah,
36 or 37 is okay.
Yeah,
but I haven't got AC, so you're gonna see me sweating like a rapist, and second you're gonna see me fatting my face most of the time.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I use the Celsius right now. It's been about negative. I think it was -3 this morning.
-3.
Oh, it is -2 degrees in Iowa right now.
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius. I use Celsius. I don't use Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I use Celsius. It's weird. I have Celsius on my temperature thing, and I have my.
When are you Americans gonna go metric? I don't get it. Like every other country in the world's going metric except for you guys.
Blah blah blah. Moon landing. Yada yada yada. Something.
Right.
Hey, Olga, there's one thing I wanted to address that you kind of mentioned it earlier, but I wasn't able to kind of talk about it. You mentioned, I think you said earlier that you found debate topics that was kind of wide and ranging, like creation versus evolution, etc. Was it's not conducive to a debate. Yeah. So just a bit of background on that, Olga, was and Leo kind of said this earlier. My whole point of debate was Nephilim was really just to mock creationists. I came in dressed as Hovind. I had the Hawaiian t-shirt on and the kind of stethoscope. So I was mocking Hovind. I was making, how Hovind always does the whole, hey Steve, there's something wrong with my computer. Evolution believes that if over time the computer would just get better. That little thing that he always says. Yep. So I did the same thing, except I made a little story up around, hey Steve, my computer's broken. Come and fix it. What do you mean there's a little boy drowning? Forget about that, just in reference to the fact that little kid drowned in Dinosaur Adventureland. So I made all these jokes. The whole point of the debate was to mock creationists. I had slides around Raw Matt and how he lied. I had the whole section on Nephilim Free, and I had a bit on Standing for Truth, but I didn't really want to go there. Sorry, David. So when Nephilim suggested a topic, I didn't care what it was. Okay, I was like, sure, whatever topic, because I wasn't going to talk about the topic. It was all about, examples of how creation is lied.
The lying.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the whole point. The deception, everything like that. That's why I said the Speed and Ian were like, maybe what I said was a little. I'm like, no, you did nothing wrong. Like what you did is literally what needs to be done to creationists. The way that we treat flat earthers, and in actual like academia, they're all treated the same. They're pseudoscience. They're not taken seriously. But the way that people think of flat earthers, they're just a bunch of fucking goonies. They don't understand anything. They're just stupid. Is how we need to treat creationists. And when you debate with a creationist as if they're talking about the science, you're lending credence to them. That's why a lot of them do it. What Ian was doing is saying, we're not even going to do that. You guys are absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason to take you guys seriously, and I'm going to show why.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that, Ian. But you're one of the few YouTubers, atheists or evolutionist YouTubers that kind of say it as it is. So that's one thing I do like about your channel, Leo. You say it as it is, and when you have that debate, you're very pointed. A lot of people, even David, you're good, but you're good in a polite way. Like I wouldn't. I just want to
Hey,
explain.
David is a good debate.
I will agree
Yeah,
with
I'm a
that.
prick when I debate. I'm sorry, but sometimes when it comes to people like Robertson Jennings, the way that I was with him is the way that you need to be. When I debated Neffy, the way that I was is the way that you need to be. And I'm not gonna lie, I take a lot of that from Aaron Raw because that's how he is. He's not nice to these people.
Yeah,
He's like, you're
There's a
wrong.
reason he's so
Dude, you
famous.
have no clue what you're talking about, and you need to shut up. And every time you say something wrong, I'm gonna stop you
Leo,
right
I
there.
agree with
I'm gonna correct you.
99.99% of everything you say. I 100% agree. The only thing I don't agree with is Jessica Alba rocks over $1 million. That's it. That's only, it's a small point, but that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I like Aaron Raw for that reason. Like, he's not afraid to cut you off. Like, say, okay, I have to cut you off and correct this slide before you go over to the next slide.
Yep.
I guess I'm a little bit too timid to do that type of stuff. I'm just too polite of a person.
Well, and the way that you go about it, though, David, is not a bad method for debating because you are still the kind of person that's just going to be like, so and so said this. Yeah, it's just wrong. This is how it really is, and that is just as effective.
Right. But anyway, Ian, do you want to maybe present your opening statement to all of us? That way, it can be recorded and preserved. If you want to represent your opening.
I don't have it on this particular computer. I was using
I require
another
a stethoscope. I need a stethoscope too.
I've been asked to do it maybe on Speed Channel, so I might do that then, a proper one again, and I'll do the full presentation as opposed to the parts of it that I was allowed to do before it was cut off. But I don't have the presentation on this particular computer. I actually had a proper setup with a monitor, etc., because of the whole debate thing. So I can't do it for you now. But I'll give you the gist of what it was. So I started off by what I kind of wanted to say, and I basically said to Neff, and I was steering him into a structure of a presentation that was more conducive to allow me to kind of do what I wanted to do or what I had planned. So I kind of said to Neff, let me do a 2-minute introduction because, Neff, this is my first debate and no one knows who I am. And, you're the more popular one of all of us and blah, blah, blah. And, kind of stroke his ego a little bit. And, it's kind of true. Everyone does know who he is. So I said, so give me a couple minutes to introduce myself first. And that whole point of the introduction was really to say 2 things. One, I led off with a mocking on Kent Hovind. So keep in mind, I was dressed in a Hawaiian shirt with a stethoscope, etc. With a mocking of Kent Hovind, basically that little thing around how he always asks this technical guy called Steve, and then I made a joke around, hey Steve, forget about the guy the little boy that's drowning in a lake. This is more important. I've got kind of people viewing me, so it's very narcissistic kind of thing. I want you to come, kneel in front of me, put your hands in front of you, close your eyes, open your mouth, bob your head, and pray. But I made it sound like it was about, it was Kent Hovind asking for a
nice.
BJ. Yeah, essentially. So I think that was the point. From what I understand, that was the point where Neff left, because I think he took some offense to that. And what I said to kind of people ask me is, I never actually said BJ. If Neff kind of thought that, then he's the one with the dirty mind. But certainly I did imply it. So then my joke there was, hey, creation says that every time you pray, things will magically get better. And that was my little twist on the line that Hovind always says around evolutionists say that a computer over time will just magically improve itself, right? So that's where I led in. And then basically I talked a little bit of myself, and I had a picture of me and my wife on there, and I did the whole Hovind joke. That's not my wife. That's a picture of my wife. And then I listed the degrees and qualifications I had, but I basically said I may or may not have a bachelor's, master's, and a doctorate. Now, I do have these degrees, but what the point I want to kind of make there was they were degrees in marketing and business administration. So it doesn't matter how degreed I am, none of those degrees are relevant to the science. And then I made a point to kind of say, so today, you're not going to hear any sciences from me today. And the good news is you're not going to hear any from Nephilim Free as well. But I did purchase a PhD from a university called Rockville University, and I can probably do a little bit of things because I still have the questionnaire and the answers I'd use to submit to get that degree. But they ask you 6 questions, and basically they award a degree on life experiences. So if you answer the 6 questions, and I got the degree on theology and biblical studies. Now, come on, man, I don't know anything about theology or biblical studies. So all they cared about was the $895 that you pay them, but you had to fill in a questionnaire, and they award you the PhD. So I kind of made a point to kind of say, if you're going to call people like Raw Matt and Kent Hovind doctors, you may as well call myself, Dapper Dino, Speed of Sound of Gravity, who also have these fake degrees as well, doctors. So I made a point of that. And then essentially I kind of said, hey, I don't really have a YouTube channel. There's no point kind of subscribing to me. And then I put a list, and David, you'll be happy that and Leo as well. I basically put both your channels on a page to kind of say, if you really want to hear the science, it's not from me, it's not from Nephilim, it's not from anyone. Go to these guys' channels. All of these guys are either studying the sciences, they know a lot about it, or they are like PhDs, like creation myths, etc. So these are specialists in the science. Go to these kind of channels and learn from them. And then I also did put Standing for Truth in there as well, because then at the end of the day, if you want to hear the best of the creationist arguments, you go to his channel. If you want to hear what PhD creationists are saying on the YEC front, you go to his channel, right? So just for that, I did say I don't agree with his worldviews or his conclusions, but if you want to understand the YEC position the best of, his channel is probably the best. So I kind of made a little comment that way as well.
Okay.
And then that was it. That was my opening. That was my introduction.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Fossil Talk. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the stream.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining. Is this your first time on my channel?
Yes, it is.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thanks so much.
Feel free to introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, my name is Jonathan. I'm No, go. It's my little brother. So my name is Jonathan. I am a science enthusiast and high school student. I'm with the channel Jonathan Guzman. So I do videos on vertebrate paleontology. I'm actually doing one on feathered dinosaurs right now. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
Yeah.
Shoot your channel in the chat. That way people can know.
Right. Yeah, Fossil Talk. I can only tell from Avatar. You do look familiar. Are you the guy that was on that Raw Mat video as well?
I was, yes, correct.
Okay, right. So you're a YC.
Well, I would. I mean, you could put me in that camp. I wouldn't call myself that, but you could put me in that camp. Like,
Do you believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, basically?
I'm sort of. I'm sort of figuring it out right now, but yeah, pretty much. That's where I'm currently at right now. But yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So, Fossil Talk. Just so you know, I have a master's degree in geophysics.
Sure.
So if you want to talk anything old Earth, rock, stuff like that, I'll probably correct you.
Okay.
Okay, I like the way you said that. Just straight to the correction part of it.
It's what I have to do on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I did want to come on here, not to talk about geology. I do want to.
Boo hiss.
I do want to study geology, though. But that's not what I want to talk about right now. So I did want to ask if any of you are familiar, what would be your response to a young Earth creationist who would use dinosaur soft tissue?
Sure.
That's geology, dude. That's my area. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, Dr. Mary Schweitzer, who herself is an evangelical Christian,
Sure.
Has slammed the young Earth creationists repeatedly for misusing and misrepresenting and abusing her work. Yeah. So I would strongly recommend.
Can we exclude Schweitzer? Let's just not talk about her because there's other finds.
Oh, Fossil Talk. Can I just ask one thing? Can you define what you mean by soft tissue in dinosaur? Because you get the range of responses from I've actually found literal blood to what you actually really did. Right. So what do you define as the soft tissue in dinosaur?
I do want to talk about the collagen, particularly beta carotene and melanosomes and melanocytes. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, sure. So, Jorge, that is your stuff. So.
Yeah, Ian, I don't know if you want to go or if you want me to go at it.
You start off. You'll know more about this than I do. As I said, if you want to talk about marketing or consumer behavior, I'm happy to talk to that.
Sure. So the first thing to realize, I guess, Fossil Talk, I'll ask you.
You can call me Jonathan, by the way.
When you're talking about this soft tissue analysis, what are you picturing in your mind that Mary Schweitzer or whoever is dealing with? Like, what if you picture them in the laboratory, what do you picture them doing?
All right. So first of all, they break open a bone, they thin section it, and then they put it in acid for at least a couple days to a couple weeks, and then they look at it under a microscope, and they basically there's several different ways you could do it. Well, there's one specific way to do it,
there's multiple ways. There's multiple ways to erode down the fossilized material with acid. But so this collagen that they find, Why do you think that's strong evidence for your belief?
I'm not saying it is. I'm just asking what your response would be.
Oh, my response would be the response that the scientists that do this work say, which is they found a interesting way that the soft tissue is able to ionize and fossilize within the material. It's a unique response given the circumstance of fossilization for the particular dinosaur at the particular moment. And
Would that be related to diagenesis?
Say that again, please.
Would that be related to diagenesis? As
Diagenesis, how is it related to diagenesis?
Well, no. I'm asking you if you would think that would be related to diagenesis, as in how or in what sediments the animal is fossilized in.
Well, by definition, yes, because the soft tissue analysis is in and of itself unique. It is not found in every single fossil. Therefore, the way that the creature, the way that particular bone structure would have fossilized, produced the ability for this soft tissue to ionize in the way that it did.
Sure. Well, I will have to disagree with that because a recent paper from last year showed that, at least in Alberta, Canada, it's not related to diagenesis. Diagenesis doesn't have much to do with the preservation of the soft tissues.
Can you cite the?
How are you defining diagenesis here?
Diagenesis, like if the animal is buried in mudstone or in sandstone. So here's the paper. I'll send you the paper. Give me a second. It's gonna take me a second to pull it up.
So are you arguing that all fossils have the soft tissue analysis in the same way that it was found from Mary Schweitzer et al.?
Well, here, let me send you this paper because I think this paper it's just one paper, but
I'm
there
not
are
going
several
to read
papers.
it in this conversation, obviously, but
I know,
thank you
I know.
for sending it. I'll look at it later.
But there we go. So in this paper, they do you know who Philip Cree is?
Personally, no.
No, he's a pretty big name paleontologist. I've interviewed him a couple times, and he's actually going to be in my Feathered Dinosaurs video.
Oh, fun.
So he and Aaron Reist wrote the paper, but they tested 19 specimens, museum specimens, 15 of which were dinosaurs, 2 of which were crocodilians, and 1 was a fish and another was a turtle.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and 18 of them had soft tissue, such as osteocytes, EOMs, and blood vessels.
Okay.
And that's in the paper. That's all in the paper. So, at least in that particular area, soft tissue is not as rare as we initially thought it was.
Well, you have a n equals 18 there for that. That's not really telling me a whole lot.
I'm sorry?
Your n equals 18. Your sample size is tiny for that. If you want to make the claim that's not that rare, I'm going to need to see much more evidence. We have lots of fossils that can be broken open and exampled for this. And to my knowledge, the prevailing thought is, and this could change, right? The prevailing thought is that you do have to have circumstances for these soft tissues to fossilize, if you will, in this way. Just because this particular paper found a good example of them does not necessarily automatically make it positive that all fossils will save these collagen, right?
Yeah, well,
correct me if I'm wrong, okay, but the kind of stuff that's Fossil talked about, osteocytes, etc. Aren't they specifically what Mary Schweitzer herself said are the ones that are most likely to fossilize because they had a high iron concentration from the blood, etc. That was, can't remember exactly the reasons, but you're not going to find soft tissue of actual blood cells or anything or muscle. It was specifically those particular tissues that had a very high iron concentration, and that was the mechanism.
Yes,
Ian,
Here's the
that's
question.
why I'm referencing. Yes, Ian. Exactly. It's not necessarily that. Well, first of all, this is all outside of the young Earth creationist argument because if we can find a way for collagen to fossilize, That doesn't
Exactly.
mean that the Earth is young. This just means collagen can fossilize.
Yes, correct.
And
And the one thing I
secondly-
want to correct you on fossil talk is I'm pretty sure now I don't have time to read your paper, but when you say blood vessels, I'm pretty sure they're not talking about actual blood vessels. I know certainly from Mary Schweizer's example, she's talking about blood vessel-like structures. So the imprints of the vessels that's left behind, but you're not
Yes.
actually getting the vessels itself. So I just want to correct that. Now, maybe
Sure.
maybe
Really-
that's not
really
the case
quickly,
with
really
your
quick-
paper, but that's my understanding of it.
I'm sorry, Ian. Really quickly,
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
state on page 10. It does say vessels. However, I think it's in the abstract. It says that the paper does not intend on determining if they are the actual proteinaceous molecules, but a lot of the scientists are now
Okay, I
saying,
did a search. I did a find thing out on page 9. They talked about Pamplosaurus did not produce any sign of vessel-like structures. So they're not in that particular thing. They're not talking about the vessels. They're talking about vessel-like structures.
Vessel-like,
They
right,
actually
right,
keep
right.
on talking about structures. So I think I'm still right in my interpretation of what Mary Schweitzer said, that she
Sure.
did not find blood vessels or vessels, but she found what was left behind and the imprints of those. So the vessel structures. That's what she found.
sure, and I'll agree with you on that. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Go on.
Also, Dr. Curry told me in an interview that when I asked him about the paper, he says that what did he say? Excuse me. Hold on, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry.
No need to apologize, dude. Run your
I'm a little
stuff.
bit tired.
Leo can always complain about things for 10 minutes. You need a break.
By the way, here's a question that I want to propose to you
Sure.
and many of the other creationists in the audience. If, as creationists say that all of these fossils are less than 6,000 years, why is it so difficult to get DNA from all the oldest fossils? We have lots of Neanderthal DNA very well represented, but it is pretty much impossible to get any reliable Homo erectus DNA or anything older than that because the DNA is simply not there or too degraded. So the question is, if everything is less than 6,500 years old, why is it that
That's a good point. Yeah.
why don't we have all of the
Sure.
DNA?
Now, I'm not too up to date on like the young Earth creationist model and all sorts of the stuff, but I would assume, like I've interviewed Marcus Ross and Matthew McLean, the PhD young Earth creationist paleontologists, and I've interviewed them, and they've said that they think that the flood boundary is at the end of the Mesozoic era, at the end of the Cretaceous period, where the KT boundary is, and that after that, the Cenozoic and all that, that's post-flood, and those are sort of like the after effects of the flood. So I would assume that maybe the flood was more catastrophic, and that's the place where the dinosaurs were killed, the time where the dinosaurs were killed, and then after that, it was sort of less chaotic. Maybe the climate went down a little bit, and it made it easier for Neanderthal blood to be DNA to be preserved. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Wait,
So I'm
Can
not
I
sure.
jump in here?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. I got something too after you.
Well, you go ahead real quick, Jorge.
All right, I'll be quick. Everything post KT boundary is post flood. Like in the past 6,000 years, everything KT is in the past 6,000 years.
I think. Hold on. So the whole fossil record is past 6,000 years. I think that the flood boundary, where the flood ends, like where the
When the
waters go down
deposition
and
of the
everything,
flood ended, yes.
is at the end of the Cretaceous period. So at the end of the KT boundary.
Yes, so I would say 66 million years. You would say 6,000 years, and we're talking the same stack of rock here.
Yeah. But I'm not necessarily promoting the young Earth creationist position here. I'm just asking like what your guys' response would be. So
That's my question, Leo. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have two articles here. One is an actual technical paper in Nature magazine, Nature Journal, sorry. And the other one is Earth magazine. Earth magazine talks about soft tissue preserved polymers, not the actual soft tissues themselves, which I think corroborates a lot of what Ian Chen was saying. The technical paper from Nature Journal is published, I believe, the 30th of October 2019, and they mentioned two potential ways that two processes that could contribute to the preservation of blood vessel structures, which I believe is the exact term that Ian Chen used: Fenton chemistry and glycation.
Yeah, this is Boatman and colleagues, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I've read most of the paper. I haven't read the whole thing though, so I can't really speak on the whole thing. Do you know who Mark Armitage is, however?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, well, he's done some like response.
Fossil talk. You can't quote that guy. That guy's been thoroughly debunked here. Like, you know, Peter Sal probably knows about it, but the way he does his methodology, that little triceratops kind of bone that he says, he won't tell everyone where he finds it, which is disingenuous. He has a couple of photographs. A lot of the more I guess learned paleontologists think it's a bison horn, and they can't, you know, and he doesn't even let he does not let anyone look at his fossils, which is very disingenuous. So
Yeah,
Hold on here. I want to let Fossil Talk finish his point because then I have a response. I'll have a response to it.
My fault. Yep.
Ian, what paleontologist disagrees that thinks that it's a bison horn?
Nobody really knows because he preserved everything.
He doesn't let anyone look at it.
Well,
he doesn't want
Curie,
anybody to look at it.
Reist and Curie call it a Triceratops horridus bone, and a horn, excuse me, and
If you can't you can't be quoting somebody who has done such a shoddy job of preservation and of cooperation. He just isn't credible at all. You just have to discount everything he says. He did not do it right.
I think it would actually be a good time for me to chime in here because I searched the name Mark H. Armitage, who I believe is the person that Fossil Talk is referencing. Yep. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I got a creation.com, Creation Ministries International website, which is already a website that's not reputed and is straightforwardly pseudoscientific. And they from this article, Mark H. Armitage earned a BS in education from Liberty University, which I do believe is accredited, but is an evangelical Christian university, and an MS in biology at the Institute for Creation Research in San Diego, which I don't believe is accredited. So to me, I am seeing that this man is straightforwardly a pseudoscientist. He's probably not published in any major scientific journals, reputed scientific journals, and I don't think that he would be what's the word I'm looking for, a credible individual to cite as it relates to the subject of biology or geology or paleontology.
He is published in the Journal of... I'm sorry.
No, go on, Fossil.
He's published where?
You go.
He is published in the journal Microscopy Today.
You got a link?
Yeah, here's a couple links. Hold on.
While you're finding that link,
a Google Scholar look does show him up a few times. So
yeah, he's not
unpublished, but it is bold. So
okay, like I said, I said I don't think he'd be published, but I was wrong.
Yeah, no, you have to look at what he's published, Leo. Andrew Snelling publishes as well in
I know that
peer-reviewed journals as well. But when he publishes it, he doesn't dispute the author, So you got to look at what they're publishing as well. So the point I want to mention.
Oh, go ahead. Finish.
No, sorry. The point I want to kind of mention, Fossil Talk, is you're bringing up all these PhDs, etc. I guess from my point of view, and this is a layman's view who does not have any formal education nor any work experience in the science at all, I look at peer review papers. So if you're bringing up names like Armitage, don't give me a blog, don't give me articles from Creation Research. Show me what you're saying from a peer-reviewed journal, because that is literally the gold standard of our knowledge, right? So don't.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm trying to do right now. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. But I am, as far as I understand, none of these triceratops horns or whatever that Armitage is claiming is peer reviewed, and as I understand as well, he doesn't let people know where he's found it, so you can't actually do a geological survey to kind of confirm ages, etc., based on where the location of the bones are.
If I could, Ian, take this back a little bit, Fossil, could you give me a quick 2 or 3 minute synopsis of why you're bringing the subject up? Why do you think these Armitage things are important? Yeah. So we know your position.
So I didn't really want Armitage to become a big issue in the debate.
However you want to phrase it, man. However you want to phrase it. Just say your piece so that way I know what you're trying to say.
I do know he's the youngest creationist, so I do not want to try to use him too much. But the reason is because he is kind of he is peer reviewed, and there are Phil Currie, paleontologist that I've respected for years cited him in his paper. And other than that, really, I didn't think we'd be getting into his whole credentials thing right now. But that's pretty much it.
Well, no. Why did you bring him into the conversation?
Because he found osteocytes.
And why is that important to you? How does that promote the idea that you have?
No, I'm asking you what would be your response. So I don't
I need to know what you're trying to argue before I respond.
No. Like, if a creationist brings this up to you, what would be your response? That's what I'm.
Okay, maybe I'm alone in this, but I need to know what your thesis is before I respond to your thesis. You can't just throw papers at me and say do something.
Yeah, if I'm coming from a younger creationist perspective, which I'm not right now, but assuming I am, like, okay, this would prove that you're
okay. So again, I don't want to read this entire damn paper. What is the young Earth creationist statement that you're looking for a response for?
So
you want me to make up words for you and then respond to them? That's not fair to you.
Right. So so for example, in this paper, the recent one from Microscopy Today, they found Armitage and Soliday found blood clots in the Triceratops horn, and Armitage has used that and said blood clotting is characteristic of what's it called? What's the word that the result of drowning, I think is what he said.
Blood clots result in drowning.
The blood clots form when, like like if they say a warm-blooded mammal is drowning, there will be more blood clots in their vascular system or cardiovascular system than otherwise. Which I'm not a professional. I have actually heard that from reputed professionals, so I can't. At least right now, I can't dispute that. If somebody else has any data that they can find, that's up to them. But right now, personally, I'm not going to dispute that.
Okay,
we're still talking about the same horn, though, right? That Triceratops horn.
I think we are, but he has done like some tests in ribs and stuff.
Okay, yeah. You'd have to just present a whole lot of evidence, and other paleontologists that have looked at this material.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is a brand new paper from August or September.
And
so what other bones did he find?
Hang on a second. It's the same horn, right? That he found in Hell Creek.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think
it was two horns. It was two sets of bones, Steve. It was the one that he said was a Triceratops horn, which I think people reckon it's a bison horn, and he also found a bone called a tibula.
Yeah. The problem is that first of all, the fossil, the evidence has to be the chain of custody sort of has to be backed up, and if it isn't, then nothing else he writes about this thing is valid and can be used.
Hey, and
hey, Dr. Dan.
Hey, Dr. Dan, one sec. Covert Cuttlefish. Ask yourself why he's publishing paleo stuff in Microscopy Today. Good point.
That's
Dr. Dan.
So, if I could ask a question of Fossil Talk real quick. Let's say that this Triceratops did actually drown.
Mm-hmm.
How is that evidence of a young Earth?
Red blood cell
responding as from a young Earth creationist perspective, that would be like, well, if we find more of this could potentially mean that these dinosaurs drowned in a global worldwide flood, which
So what you have currently is a single horn that may have been from an animal that drowned, and you're assuming that therefore every horn has this exact same characteristic.
Yeah, we got to find some more.
I'm not sure if that's what they. Yeah, you do need to find some more, and I'm not sure if that's what you're saying.
I'm trying to connect the threads of your argument here, and so far you're saying this one animal drowned. Lots of people drown every day. I don't see it difficult for a Triceratops to drown. Right?
Can
I chime in here really quick?
Yeah, real quick. When you finish that chat, I'll go over to Dr. Dan.
Yeah, because I know I want to let him loose because I know he's going to do a better job than most people here. No offense to anybody else.
Yeah, before David, I have some questions that I think are kind of important. So,
but I did want to for Fossil Talk because it seems that a lot of what he's working with here rests on the global flood. So just a couple of points, I guess that I might frame them as questions that I wanted to present here. Number one, really quick yes or no question, Fossil Talk. Do you know what dendrochronology is?
No.
Dendrochronology is it's essentially a science of measuring tree rings to determine what happened in the past, the age, or at least to that tree, the age of the tree. It's studying the tree and its history and everything like that from its tree rings. We can do this with trees that are alive. We can do this with trees that are dead. We can even do this with fossilized trees. And we've done
And
it.
to my understanding, you can do that to bones as well, correct?
I think so, but it wouldn't be dendrochronology and based on rings, but there are ways to date bones, yes. We have performed dendrochronology on trees that are dead and trees that have been fossilized, and they do not have the signatures of the imbibition, to like imbibe the imbibition of massive amounts of water. We've done this from all across the globe, which directly refutes the idea that there was a global flood. On top of that, we find nothing in the ice record or the meteorological records of the Earth that indicate that there could have been a global flood. On top of that, we have actual recorded human history from places in Asia, from places in Europe, from places in North and South America, from places in Africa, of documented thorough history going directly through, starting before and going through the period of the global flood with no interruptions, no mention of a global flood, almost as if these people were drowning and had no idea of it. So for me, where is the actual solid data that the Earth was ever covered in water? And the final point I want to make is there isn't enough water present on Earth to entirely cover its surface, however many feet above the tallest mountain as described in the Bible.
Right. Well said. Well said, Leo. So with that, Dr. Dan, welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks for having me on, David. Great to see everybody. Leo, Speed, Ogre, Ian. Fantastic job in that what turned out to
make sure to welcome Fossil Talk too there.
Yeah. Oh, I was getting around. Don't worry. Don't worry. I just wanted to compliment Ian on his.
That means a lot coming from you, Dr. Dan.
Look, there were a lot of really deep cuts in there for like the real obsessives, referencing the Parsons paper. Yeah, like there were some real deep cuts in there. So very well done.
There was one thing that I had that I was thinking of you, Dr. Dan. I was hoping that you'd pick it up because I was actually thinking of who the audience was. So I was doing a lot to Gutsy Gibbon and putting a lot of the hominid stuff there. But I don't know if you picked up the fact with the Parsons stuff. I was talking about empty DNA, but I referenced it back to a paternal grandfather. So I had you in mind then because I knew you'd probably pick up something like that.
But that's a nice touch. Yeah. And then Fossil Talk. I've seen your stuff. I've watched your stuff occasionally, and I enjoy it. So nice to be able to chat with you.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered.
So sorry, I just popped in. Kind of, I was in and out through the first until like 5 minutes ago. So I don't know what was kind of being spoken about, but I saw there was stuff about post-flood speciation rates.
So, Dr. Dan, since you're the biologist in here, just give us a rundown of the speciation issue and why that is. Because you have to get all of the speciation, all of the biodiversity, which is well represented in art and literature within less than 500 to 1,000 years.
So that is so the problem. So I've actually a really good person to have a talk about this with is Dapper Dino, because he's much more versed on like the history than I am. But the problem is that you get into like very well recorded Egyptian history. If you go by the Young Earth timeline with the flood about 4,000 years ago, the problem is you get into old. I forget the breakdown, but there's I forget if it's old, middle, and something else, or like lower, middle, upper, whatever. You get into
lower, middle, upper. That's
lower. So you get into like Lower Kingdom Egyptian history where you don't quite have true hieroglyphics, but you have similar kinds of symbols. And then in Middle Kingdom Egypt, you have true hieroglyphics, and that's before the Bronze Age collapse, which was around 1200 BC. So you end up, now you also have to squeeze an ice age in there. So what you end up needing to do is you actually go back, I think the recorded history goes back to about 2000 BC for the Middle Kingdom. So you end up with not nearly enough time from flood, right? And then the post arc, what you need is a very rapid diversification to within like just Egypt, you have dozens of species of cats, not to mention the 150 some odd species that are extinct. You need to generate like 200 different species of cats within a millennium if you're being really generous about the time frame. The same thing is true for different groups of birds, different types of not dogs, but like wolves and dog family kinds of things. Different types of herbivore tetrapods. You have the horse group is a good example because you have a robust fossil record there. So you have extreme rates of diversification, not just in things that grow fast, but in things that have like long time frames. And yeah, old, thank you, Gutsick. It's old, middle, and new with intermediate periods. Thank you. And we have really good, robust, unbroken, as Leo said, historical records for all these things. There's no flood in the middle. So whatever historical records you have at the earliest one, that's where you have to draw your line of like all the diversification already happened by this point. So you end up with all these species that like the speciation rates are astronomical. And it can't work.
Yeah, exactly. And but anyway, Dr. Dan, thank you so much once again for coming on. Got a big treat for everyone with the Dr. Jameson and Dr. Ding saga. So yeah.
So do we want to talk about this now, or do we want to kind of give an overview and then like really dive into it down the road?
Yeah, let's do a kind of a brief overview now, and then you and I can sit down and do a real deep dive into it, and just do a you and me stream on your channel. We can do it on your channel because your channel is bigger, and then I'll just mirror it to mine.
This is as far as it. Look, you can do it on yours. You can do it on mine, and then like whatever you want to do. As far as I'm concerned, this is your. This is your work that we'd be talking about. So if you want to host the talk on it, then that is your prerogative as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Hey, really quickly, if I may, Dr. Dan, I'd want to know what videos of mine have you seen?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you specifically because I haven't watched anything in probably about 2 weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, just going back, some interviews. The interview with Swamidath was one of them.
Okay.
A couple of, basically that was like probably the most recent, and then you go before that.
Have you watched my interview with Sereno?
No, that one doesn't ring a bell. Sorry.
All right. Well, if you do get a chance to, that's a treat right there. So Sereno's a really fun guy to talk to.
I'll make a note of it.
Paul Sereno, he's a big name paleontologist. I really.
Yeah. Okay, I got to learn more paleontology. I don't know nearly enough about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one here is a paleontologist. So
would it be actually okay if I asked Fossil Talk a couple of questions that I just kind of while you were talking about like soft tissue and collagen and osteocytes?
Yeah.
I had a couple questions. So it would be okay with everybody if I ask?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Leo's fine with us.
So the kind of the thing that gets me is like we have from Neanderthals, woolly mammoths, a bunch of other things like.
Are you going to ask about the DNA?
Well, yeah, right. We have very like intact DNA.
I think Leo asked me that, and I
did I miss it earlier? Sorry. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. I think I answered it.
Like, where's the rest? Why? One, where is the rest? And then two, why is there a recency bias in this? Like, why do we have woolly mammoth DNA but not Tyrannosaurus Rex DNA?
Yeah, I think I haven't asked this of anybody yet, but like, I would assume maybe that, the flood boundary ends at the KT boundary, starts at the KT boundary, and then everything after that is post-flood. And so during the flood, things would be a lot more destructive. Again, I'm not saying that this is what they say. I'm just assuming might be what they say.
My follow-up then is so within that, just within that post-KT region then. So for example, what about something like Pachycetus or Ambulocetus, which is in an environment where fossilization is going to happen, right? That kind of shallow water, coastal, that's where fossilization is going to happen. We've got lots of examples of like those are the types of environments where we get it.
If only Pakicetus and were able to see this so that they could move.
Well, right. So, like, why wouldn't we have DNA from them? Because that's in the post flood boundary. So even if you grant, okay, whatever pre-flood stuff was happening that destroyed all the DNA, there's plenty of stuff that we would expect to have DNA from in the post flood boundary. I mean, just think about all the other hominids. Why do we only have Neanderthals? Why don't we have like Homo erectus and Australopithecus DNA?
Have there actually been papers testing to see if they're like DNA in Ambulocetus and Pakicetus?
There's not. It's mineralized. There's nothing.
Okay, so, but there have been papers that have said, look, we don't find anything in this stuff.
I mean, nobody's going to test a rock for DNA. There's no DNA in there.
Yeah. So Standing for Truth said, it all depends on the environment. Neanderthals were prime candidates for DNA preservation based on their ice age conditions.
Neanderthals, where we've gotten DNA from, were not in permafrost.
Exactly, and
like they're not from permafrost. It doesn't have to do. It wasn't in. It was the Neanderthals. At least some of the samples where we've gotten Neanderthal DNA from, they're temperate. They're not in Arctic conditions.
They were found in caves, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're found in caves in Germany and Spain. Like it's not above the Arctic Circle.
They've even found in Israel.
Even the Denisovan cave. I don't think that was Arctic. I think it was in Siberia, but it was not above the Arctic Circle. It's not like in permafrost in tundra. And we got DNA from that sample. So like why don't we have more of that stuff?
So Dr. Cardinal, if I may ask you a question.
Just call me Dan.
Oh, Dan, if I may, let me ask you this. Do you think that we're finding the actual proteinaceous molecules from
I don't have a strong opinion on like the collagen and the osteocytes. I will say that I am skeptical of it because you really need cells are relatively fragile, and unless you're in like a really precise environment, cells are going to break down pretty fast. So I would be astonished if it turns out there were actually osteocytes in those samples. Now, some of the other ones,
are you aware of the discovery of like melanosomes, melanocytes, beta keratin, stuff like that?
Any cells, I'm extremely skeptical of.
Okay.
And then for the it's not technically soft tissue, but the stuff like collagen, like I'm sure everyone knows. You probably mentioned Mary Schweitzer, who's the most famous example of people finding this stuff. And the thing with Schweitzer is people have tried to replicate her work and have failed to do so, and that makes me very nervous. So when you have one research team and one research team only that can get really notable, spectacular results. I am not impugning her work. I've read some of her papers. She's very careful about documenting her protocols and very open about her data and her techniques. It's all very above board. But other people using those same samples, doing the same techniques, have failed to replicate her results. And that makes me hesitant to take those results at face value. That's not to say that they're wrong. That's not to say that there's anything wrong with what she's doing, but the fact that other people have tried and failed makes me hesitant to buy into it fully.
At the very least, Dr. Dan, what that kind of tells me is that those fossilization, those soft tissues, probably a very rare event. So it's not at the very least, it's not a common event. It could be just a rare event.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not just talking about, we're going to take other samples and do the same thing and we're failing to find stuff. Other people working with her samples have failed to get
from her own samples. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right.
That's what makes
I think Dan's hitting on a fantastic point there, which is not every discovery in science is going to overturn the paradigm. Right, you can have unique events. Like not everyone's an albino just because albinos exist.
Another thing that he's pointing on is that
Hey, Erica.
Even the scientists.
Leo, your mic is bad.
Yeah, I got to bring my arm down. I forgot. So another point that Dan is hitting on that I really like is that Even the actual scientists themselves are skeptical of their colleagues' work, especially when you can't reproduce it, because that's one of the biggest things. And this is why I can't lend a lot of credence to creationism, because if it really had truth, I am very, very confident the professionals, the actual people with decades of experience and research, with actual degrees and real study under their belt, would have figured it out to some extent by now.
Right. So anyway, welcome, Erica. So real quick, before we go to Erica, Dr. Dan, do you want to just do a quick overview of the Jeanson saga with me, and then we'll go over to Erica?
Yeah, let's do it real quick. So I'll just take just a minute here. So Jeanson, this is 2017. Jeanson published a blog post on Answers in Genesis, saying that look, if you look at the mutation rates in a pedigree study, so you look at parents and their kids, and this was mother to daughter because it was mitochondrial DNA, or mother to offspring because it was mitochondrial DNA. If you look at the number of DNA differences in a study like that, you look at the mom, you look at the kids, how many differences are there, tally those up, you can get a per generation mutation rate for the mitochondrial DNA. And if you work backwards, you can then apply that per generation rate to see how long it would take to accumulate the divergence that you see across all of humanity in terms of the mitochondrial DNA. And Jeanson did this, and he arrived at about 6,000 years for his number. He used one paper as his source for this, his data, and it was this paper by Ding et al. 2015. And the problem here is that, and Jeanson points this out, this is not like me or other people saying, hey, you got a problem. This is Jeanson in the blog post says, we don't know if these are all germline mutations or if they're a mix of germline and somatic. And that matters because somatic mutations will never get passed on. So if you include somatic mutations, you're artificially increasing your per generation mutation rate. Now, there are other problems beyond just germline versus somatic, but that's the main one. And Jeanson pointed out, hey, that remains to be seen. We have to do follow-up work to see. He hasn't done any follow-up work. But so I'll let Neff take it from here, because he's been talking to the participants in this and found some interesting stuff.
Yeah, so I actually DM'd Dr. Jeanson on his Facebook page, Replacing Darwin. You can go to Replacing Darwin, and I hit just figured, why not? Let's figure out. I doubt that he will actually respond to me, but to my surprise, he did. And I asked Dr. Jeanson, hey, Dr. Jeanson, question for you: if Ding and al's work was the somatic mutation as opposed to the germline mutation, would your results be invalidated? And Dr. Jeanson was very careful with how he worded his response. He said potentially yes, the results will be invalidated as the germline mutation would be unknown. However, multiple independent lines of evidence points to it being germline mutation. So this is basically a translation for everyone. Yes, if this was not germline, my results are invalid. That's basically what he's saying, but he's being very careful with the way he worded it. My next step, of course, is to contact Dr. Ding, who is the lead author of the study. And just for the people who might not be aware, scientists and researchers are more than happy to talk to the public about their research, and are oftentimes very happy to see, hey, people are really interested in this work. And I asked him if he had any responses at all to Dr. Jeanson, and he said basically, the first thing he said that we were not, the purpose of the study wasn't to do a mutation rate study or whatever. And he said, I asked him, is this a germline or somatic? And he said, this is basically a combination of both germline and somatic, which of course invalidates Jeanson's entire paper.
Yep. That's the ball game, everybody. Like, that is it. And like, again, this is my favorite part about this is Jeanson has in the original post a disclaimer essentially saying, I don't know, maybe it's germline, maybe it's somatic. I think it's germline and we're good. I need to do more work to be sure. And then there's no follow-up work. And then here we have it from Ding saying like, it's not germline, it's both. So you can't do the math that Jeanson does.
Yeah, I emailed them back and said, hey, do you believe that Dr. Jeanson misrepresented your work? And I'm still waiting for a response. That being said,
he might be a little hesitant to like immediately like, smack down on that one. But the answer that he gave you already is sufficient to validate the criticism of Jeanson's work.
Yeah, and the problem, of course, is what I find interesting is that creationists are always relying on other people's work, such as Ding and all, but they never want to do the work themselves.
Yep.
What Dr. Jeanson should be doing is doing the research, do the independent pedigree where he knows it's going to be the germline mutation, do all of that, and then use that information to calculate time to most recent common ancestor. And
can I just say one more thing on this topic, and then I'm going to shut up for a bit.
Sure.
This is a really good example of a place where if we're going to take young Earth creationism seriously as a science, then it has to like conform to the structure of a scientific hypothesis, and we should be able to make specific testable predictions. And if YEC is accurate, then one of the predictions we can make is that you should find a uniform time to most recent common ancestor across many, many genomes, and that uniform time to most recent common ancestor is approximately 6,000 years in the past, maybe 4,000 because of the flood. It's going to be somewhere in that range. And the fact that when we do the time to most recent ancestor calculations for all different parts of the genome, not only do we get much longer time spans than that, but we get wildly divergent time spans from each other, showing that different regions, different genes are all under different pressures and evolving at different rates due to different ecological and genetic histories. That is a failed prediction of the young Earth creationist hypothesis. And when you have a direct prediction that must logically flow from your hypothesis, and the data contradict that prediction, your hypothesis has been invalidated. That is how science
that's Aaron Ross phylogeny challenge. If young Earth creationism is true, we should be able to trace anything that we see on Earth today back to 6,000 years, where it terminates at the creature that is the special creation. Give me those creatures, so for the dog kind, which one was the one that was originally created by God that all the other ones speciated out of? And not only is this a prediction that YEC makes, it is, in my opinion, probably the biggest and easiest to confirm prediction that it makes, and it fails miserably.
Yeah, and when I know Erica caught part of it. I don't know if you've seen my debate with Bill Morgan yet, Dr. Dan.
I have not watched it yet. I'll get to it.
One of the things that he brought up is that basically systems can't evolve, and I showed him the example of HIV where we know how it evolved. He admitted that it's a system, but then he kind of hand waved it away, saying, "Well, it's still a virus. But what else do you expect it to be?" And I pointed out the lizard example that are evolving placentas that you pointed out in your video and all that. And he had nothing to say at all.
It seemed to me, David, that like part of his argument was a statement that Kent Hovind makes frequently. Well, I can't believe that you would think that dogs and pine trees are related.
Yeah, he used that argument. But anyway, Erica, thank you for being so patient. Welcome to the channel.
Oh yeah, no problem. No, I'm doing something on the side, so I'm kind of just wanted to hang and chill for just a minute. But since we're talking about soft tissue, I wanted to jump in specifically because this young Earth creationist coworker of mine who I used to get coffee with all the time, we had a very extensive dialogue about soft tissue preservation. And in that, I actually ended up doing a decent write-up on the entire subject. So I dug through all my documents and I was like, I know I've got this somewhere because I can present a pretty nice overview of what soft tissue preservation looks like. And perhaps I took a look, Fossil Talk 2, at your, is it okay if I just call you Guzman?
Yeah, you can call me Jonathan.
Okay,
Guzman. Some people have called me Johnny.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, Johnny is fine. Johnny's fine. So I took a look too at your 2020 paper as well, because I had like little hypothesis in my brain, and I wanted to see if it came to fruition. So I want to share with you guys kind of my write-up very briefly. I'm not going to read it or anything. I'm just going to summarize it. But so a couple of clarifications. This all started back in 2006 when Schweitzer was analyzing the material from the T-Rex thigh, right? No one really did this before she did. And what was initially thought to be red blood cells came out to be framboids, which are small round deposits of inorganic iron material, which is really important. That inorganic part is very, very key, because biochemically you know whether something has, an organic or an inorganic origin. So essentially it's residue left over from blood, which is very interesting. Neatly enough, Schweitzer also claimed at one point, and this is one of her more controversial claims, but she claimed at one point that they actually managed to sequence a degraded protein from the medullary bone of one of the T-Rexes. And I say controversial, but even if it's not, it actually creates a lot of problems for the more conventional young Earth creationists, because what it showed is that these degraded proteins, according to Schweitzer, looked almost identical to bird proteins, so what we find typically in the medullary bone of birds, which is really interesting. She says of it, her quote from it is, "This is a much harder exercise because the concentration of organics in the dinosaur was orders of magnitude less than the much younger mammoth, and because the proteins were very degraded. Nevertheless, we were able to correctly sequence them. And gratifyingly, when our colleague Chris Organ of Harvard compared the T-Rex sequences with those of a multitude of other organisms, he found that they grouped most closely with birds, followed by crocodiles, the two groups that are the closest living relatives of dinosaurs." Even if you want to give I know you're not a conventional young Earth creationist, Johnny, I'm just saying, even if you wanted to give the conventional creationists the benefit of the doubt here, it creates more problems than solutions for them, because it's much easier to say, well, perhaps there's a preservation mechanism at work, than it is to say, okay, boy, it sure is strange that this material matches up with evolutionary theory. But sure. Let's talk about the preservation mechanisms really quickly, because I think those are the most important part.
I wanted to jump in really, really quickly, just because I want to make sure we give Johnny an opportunity to respond, because I know Dan went, I went for a brief there, and then Erica just went. I know Speed wants to get in.
Fair enough.
Johnny a chance to chime in here, give his thoughts on some things, and then I think we should go to Speed.
Okay, well, I wanted to cover the preservation mechanisms really quickly too, if that's okay.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, before we do that, Erica, do you watch my entire debate yet, or not yet?
Did I watch the entire Bill Morgan debate?
Yeah.
No, I still only caught the second half.
Okay. How do you think I did?
Yeah, I thought it went really well. I mean, Bill's easy to chat with.
Yeah, I like Bill a lot.
He was respectful. It was a good debate.
Yeah, I like Bill quite a bit.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah, so the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll shut up for quite some time, and I think you're right, we should give it over to Johnny, but since this is still on the topic, I just kind of wanted to get this last little bit here. The analysis that they performed also showed extensive evidence for the cross-linking of proteins and other chemical modifications. These are complexes between like carbon, nitrogen, and iron that are consistent with long-term aging and the stabilization of this material, which we see in conventional geology as well. So that raised the question, okay, well, we know they're old. We know they're showing they're preserved, but they're showing signs of long-term ancient preservation. And interestingly enough, Mary Schweitzer, as of 2017, 2018, noted that no other research group has been able to detect these protein sequences that she was able to show. Everyone already talked about the DNA, so I'm just going to talk about the preservation mechanisms really quickly. So there are a couple of different ones going on here. There's the cross-linking structure of collagen that makes it reasonable for fragments of this particular molecule to survive upwards of 68 million years. And this is because even though individual protein strands break down, the fiber remains largely intact because it has all these association points. And so this was part of kind of my little hypothesis about this new paper that you showed, because the collagen is most likely to preserve in articulated fossils. And when I checked out your paper, the vast majority of the 18 or so samples that preserved some aspect of organic material in that 2020 paper were from articulated specimens, which is very interesting.
Some of them were from inarticulated and somewhat incomplete, but yeah, I do.
Yeah, some were, but the overwhelming majority and I just quickly looked at it, was from articulated specimens, which lends credence to a bias towards a preservation mechanism that is in tandem with this collagen cross-linking. Fuzz Ron also did something on bone decay as well. where he noted that cell-destroying enzymes post-death tend to be let loose in the body and accelerate decay. But in a 2002 review of the survival organic matter in bone, Collins et al. Affirmed that the collagen in bone is protected by the physical exclusion of microbial extracellular enzymes. And then Peterson et al. Also noted that after microbes invade the outermost pores of dinosaur bones, their metabolic activities lead to mineral deposits which hermetically seal off the innermost zones of the bones from further attack by microbes. So they essentially seal themselves in. And then, of course, there's the iron preservation, which is what most of Schweitzer's work has been on. And the biggie with that one was the one with the chicken and the ostrich bone. Because in 2013, she tested the first of the mechanisms where they incubated fresh demineralized chicken bone, doing typical corresponding treatments to induce collagen cross-linking. And the crazy thing is it made collagen incredibly resistant to decomposition. And what it showed was cleaved cross-linked molecules. So they did it again with ostriches, and it showed that even though degradation of ostrich vessels placed in plain water or even phosphate buffered saline, it showed significant degradation about 3 days in. But once they treated it in the way that would have been analogous to these dinosaur bones, it took it more than 240 times longer to actually degrade within the hemoglobin. And that's without that cross-linking sealing away thing. So the point that I'm trying to make is that there's been a lot of work in the past decade done on preservation mechanisms. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, like this is more settled than most areas of paleontology that mechanisms do indeed exist to orders of magnitude further than we'd ever considered. But the key part of that is that not only do these preservation mechanisms exist, they exist and have a calling card of ancient age. They don't preserve in the way that other recently preserved fossils, quote unquote, like animals that die recently and preserve themselves in peat bogs or something along those lines. They don't have those kinds of tells of a recent death. They have the tells of something that has been dead for quite some time, even within their preservation mechanisms. Okay, I'll shut up. Sorry, I'm done.
Yeah, real quick. Is that the paper, the 2013 paper? Is that the one where she and her colleagues inject the blood vessels and blood cells with an anticoagulant and then put them in this ultracentrifuge?
One of them was. I think they did that with the chicken. I don't know that they did that with the ostrich.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Like I said, this is from a write-up from quite some time ago.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm shutting up. I'm muting.
All right. Speed, we'll go over to you.
I just wanted to thank Erica for that rundown. I think that was very well said. So,
thank you guys. Appreciate it. Listen, hey, someone's got to benefit from all these, this research that I've done that I can't share with anybody in my real life.
That's how I feel all the time. Like I'm reading, like I was talking to Michael Benson and Phil Creed just the other day, and I'm trying to explain to my siblings and my parents exactly what they told me, and they're like, "What does that mean?"
Well, Erica's learned something new yesterday, didn't you, Erica? Latest research as well.
Oh, fucking! Yeah. I can't even begin with yesterday. I can't even begin with that.
It speeds up, right?
Yeah, Otangelo's going off in the side.
Yeah, are you okay, Erica?
Just ignore him.
Yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Still reeling. Oh, hi, Otangelo. Yeah, Otangelo. I like Otangelo, but my problem with Otangelo is that for all of the coherence, at least, that comes with his arguments on irreducible complexity, like he tends to know his arguments pretty well. He uses like 40, 50-year-old geology arguments crimped from like IEG and ICR. And then sometimes ones that AIG is like, hey, please don't use these arguments because they're too old. So my thinking is that Otangelo is great in his area. He knows that spot very well, even though I think the way that he knows it is incorrect. I mean, I think that he's arguing from incredulity like a lot. And he still lacks some model mechanisms, any hypotheses that are testable and predictable, which is the main problem. But Otangelo, you got to get those geology arguments up to snuff, my dude. You got to get some good ones there, because in my opinion, geology and physics are the main problem with the whole young Earth creationism thing. And I love evolution. But
we should have a debate over that sometime, because I will tell you, the genetics is the main problem.
Yeah,
let's be honest here. This is exactly my domain. My degrees in geophysics.
Let's go, Speed.
Yeah, Speed, all yours.
Gee, do I remember what I wanted to say? I don't know.
Do you?
First of all, you're referring to a 2020 paper. Were the papers posted in the earlier chat tonight that I missed somehow?
Yeah. Raced Curry 2020.
Are they in chat? Not private chat, but public chat?
No, here I'll post it in public chat. Though.
Okay, that was the first thing.
You'll probably only be able to post it in private chat because I don't think you have a wrench.
Okay. Second thing I just wanted to mention paleochemistry is kind of a thing that they do with coal. So I mean, there are a lot of fossil remnants of chemicals. But then I was listening to Cell's channel. I got 2 points I want to make. I was listening to Cell's channel, and they were talking about going through geological layers and finding and doing chirality ratios on amino acids. And I'm wondering where in the hell did they get this data from? And that leads to my second question, which is if you are passionate fossil talk, or Johnny is your name, about this subject, what I would like to see, I mean, how many incidents of these paleochemicals have we found in fossils, and is there a general review that gives us some idea how many incidents we have of this? I mean, how much data do we have? Are there any review articles that kind of put it together and give us a whole lot of, give us an opportunity to take a look at the whole field from the top? Do you know what I mean? I mean,
I can give you like 3 papers from 2020, 2 papers from 2019, a couple papers from 2017 and 18, and a couple from one from 2010, 20, and I really should have mentioned Armitage, but 2012, and then I think Schweitzer's work.
And is that the entire list of soft tissues or fossil evidence that we have of chemistry? Is that like 20 items?
I think there could be more. That's what I've run into so far, and I have them all in a PDF file.
So, I mean, somebody must be working on this from the top in a sort of a review fashion, don't you think? I mean, Dr. Dannison, that's something that you would want to know. I mean,
Philip Curry and his colleagues over in the University of Alberta have been working on this on and off over the past couple of years.
Okay, could you email me a list of what you got, like all of the evidence? Because I got really interested when I heard Cell and I think it was James Carter talking about this, and it's like, okay, if you got data, I really want to look at the data. And it's just that it seems like we're all over the place. We have these little tiny bits of evidence here and there, and Mary Schweitzer keeps coming up, and I'm just wondering, how much do we have? How much evidence do we have to make a decision about these sorts of things? So if you could email me at speedofsoundofgravity@gmail.com with a list, I will certainly take a look at it.
Sure. I'll collect everything I have. It's sort of scattered everywhere in my email.
Okay. Well, it might do you good to put it in one bucket and take an overall, from the top look yourself. I mean, it really is an effective strategy when you're trying to figure something out. So that's all I got.
Hey, Speed, I just put a link in the chat, the public chat for you, and I'm going to put another one. It's to a couple of old Reddit threads, actually, on racemization dating, which is what Sal and Carter were talking about earlier from the 30 seconds that I caught. And the short version is that it's bad because there are lots of abiotic processes that will affect the rate at which it occurs. Yeah. So you can't get a sample. And like we use, we use DVs and LVs. And if you find a sample that's whatever ratio, it's not like radiometric dating where you can work backwards and figure out how long the sample has been, right? Because there's lots of abiotic factors that affect that rate. So that's the short version of why that type of dating is bad.
Okay. Yep, but just trying to get a look from the top at this whole soft tissue problem. So,
yeah. Sure.
Okay.
It looks like Ian wants to ask a question.
Yes. Is it okay to ask now?
Yes, it is, Ian.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you. All praise to you, all gay. All praise to you. So Guzman, hey, I do actually remember you now. So I know you've been previously on SFT's channel. Some of the videos you've done that I've kind of seen quite a strong young Earth creationist. previous to this, when you got on, you seemed to suggest that you were kind of on the fence, or you maybe some of your views may have changed. So I just wanted to ask, based on those conversations you're having with some of these paleontologists, etc., have your views changed, and if so, what kind of convinced you?
Well, I've been so first of all, I've been reading this amazing book. Some of you might recognize it, Improbable Destinies. Really, really fast.
I just bought that 5 minutes ago.
Oh, really nice.
Yes, you did.
Who's the author? Sorry, I didn't see the author.
Jonathan Losses.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. So, really fascinating book, and it talks about things like convergent evolution. Is evolution predictable? Can we predict the future turns of evolution? Rapid evolution, the Guppy experiments, Lenski's experiment, stuff like that. I'm still on the fence. I mean, I think that the case for para-avian evolution is kind of strong. I think if I'm going to accept the soft tissues as originally proteinaceous, I think I'm going to have to accept the feathers, the dinosaurs, and bird transition, because a lot of that stems from the chemistry that we've been finding in dinosaur feathers, and things like that. So I'm still on the fence. I could be convinced either way, either side.
I just thought it was really interesting, and I'm happy that you're kind of, I guess, from my perspective, moving along. But I do recall a year ago you were putting out videos on SFT channel, very strongly young Earth creationists, very strongly 6,000 years old, and it's kind of interesting because you've obviously been talking to the scientists, you've been interviewing them. It's kind of interesting to see your journey. Now I know you're on the fence, but it's I'm kind of interested to see how you kind of got there. So it's kind of heartening to know that when people do their research and tries to learn, that they kind of incorporate that into their worldview thinking.
Might I ask a quick question of Johnny?
Real quick, Leo.
So, go ahead.
Can I say one super quick thing, really fast?
Oh, sure.
I think that's really awesome, Johnny. Honestly, like no matter where you come out on that whole thing, I'm really impressed that I'm always very impressed when people take the time to look into something that they want to know more about, because it's the easy thing to do is to just say, you know what, I'm just going to stick with what I know and go with that.
Absolutely.
So I'm really impressed, and congratulations on your journey, no matter where you end up. Good job, well done.
Thanks, Erica. And by the way, you do remind me of a relative of mine. You sound exactly like her, and you look exactly like her. And she's actually in college right now studying mathematics or something like that. But
are you saying she's blue? Are you saying she's blue, Guzman? Are you saying she's blue?
Yes, you blue.
No.
All right, I'll set up. Sorry, I pass it back to Leo. Fun fact though.
Sure.
So my question is, what is it particularly that you would say you're on the fence about?
Para-avian evolution specifically.
Oh, okay. Because I've heard you say it about a few things. I didn't know if that was about all of YEC or if it was just more specified.
No, I think that. So I've been, like I said, I've been talking to the PhD evolutionary paleontologist, and I've also been talking to the PhD young Earth creationist paleontologist, and both of them have convincing arguments. The young Earth creationist side says, well, when you look at the fossil record, you see that there's like this sudden appearance of para-avians in the fossil record, and then they, in the early Jurassic, starting with what's the name, Zeotangia, something like that, Zeotangia. And then it spreads out and it explodes, as in like separate bushes of life in the Cretaceous. Like the Deinonychoids begin to adapt it, Compsognathids begin to adapt it, and I think some of the Shuvia some of the Shuvia-like animals are starting to adopt that in the Cretaceous rock layers. And then you see pretty much a jumbled mess of all these sort of different things after that. And then it all disappears. So that's the young Earth creationist perspective. And then the evolutionary perspective would be like, well, our oldest para-avian ancestor is from 150 to 160 million years ago. It actually predates Archaeopteryx by about 30 million years. And that from there starts all these different dinosaurs and paravians with feathers, Microraptor, and Sinosauropteryx and things of that nature. And it's not separate trees of life, but it's all just coming from one single tree.
Yep. So real quick, Dr. Dan wanted to say something to Leo. And after that, we've been going on for over 2 hours now, so I am exhausted and got to start shutting things down. Sure, so
I've had fun.
What was that?
I've had fun. Thanks.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed having you. I do this on a regular basis, so just stay tuned. Dr. Dan, you're first, and then we'll start shutting things down.
Just kind of go around the horn bowing out. So yeah, I'm gonna it's 11:30 for me, so I am going to go to bed. So thanks for doing this and having all of us on. It was a fun conversation, and the thing I want to end on is just the thing to keep your eye on the ball on is the hypothesis testing. What hypothesis are we having? What specific predictions do we have? And then are those predictions accurate? And what I'd love to do, because I've been having a really fun time actually lately having like kind of extended informal conversations with people like Sal a couple weeks ago and Tangelo last week. And I'd love to have more conversations like that with, their gesture the right way, people here. Just like, let's look at a specific hypothesis. Let's go down that rabbit hole and see what predictions we make and see if we can evaluate these hypotheses, both the creationist hypotheses and the evolutionary hypotheses, and see where they shake out. So, and fora like this are really nice for doing that. So, have a good night, everybody. David, thanks for hosting. Great talking to everybody.
Yeah, and Dr. Dan, real quick, before you go, let's set up an email so we can
we'll set up a chat to hash out the Jeanson and Ding thing, because that is awesome and great work with that. I'm so excited for that conversation.
Same here. All right, so Erica, you're next.
Oh, cool! I am next. Awesome. Okay, and that's perfect because I gotta bow out as well. So, yeah, thanks for having us on. This was super. I was not expecting to have a fun chat like this tonight. So, I always welcome these kinds of discussions, and man, when it's civil and I learn new things, it's just like the best of all worlds. It's good to talk to Johnny again. I don't think I've spoken to him in a long time, which is great. I mean, it really is interesting. I'm glad you're chatting with a lot of folks, and it sounds like you're like really, really interested in the geology and in the paleontology, which you should be, because it's awesome and really, really neat. I would love to offer, if you ever want to discuss. And I know usually people think dinosaurs are awesome and primates are lame, which is the dumbest opinion out there. No offense. But if you ever want to discuss primates,
humans are overrated.
Yeah, no, that is true. We definitely are. But if you ever get the desire to discuss like where conventional science is with human evolution, you can always hit me up. A private chat or a stream or whatever. I'm always keen to ramble on about that.
Sure.
But you should also reach out to Dapper Dinosaur, because he genuinely knows more about dinosaurs than pretty much any I know on like a personal level. So, but best to everyone. I'll dip out.
Hey, Erica, can I ask you just a quick one?
Yeah.
10 seconds. What do you reckon the chances are of getting a copy of that debate?
Oh man, I'm almost positive James has it. So let me just. I'll message him on Twitter. I'll see if he's got it.
Yeah, can I? I'm
not even sure if he's pissed. That's why I haven't really.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yeah, let me. I'll try to get it. I don't think he's upset. I think he's more mad at Neffy than anyone else, honestly, because he rage quit like that. But because he was already tired. Poor James just wanted to get groceries, and then Neffy just bailed out. And
hey, if Neff never shows up to another debate, that's gonna be fine with me. So.
Yeah, I think James kind of feels the same way. Neffy's not.
Erica, let me know if you want me to send you a link to that latest paper. It might help you with your thesis.
Yeah.
All right.
Tell Dapper Dino to email me.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll let him know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Erica.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Toodles.
V-suit.
All right.
Toodles. Fucking Orge coming in with the toodles.
Yeah.
Hey Leo, did you see my because I don't know anything about cosmology or physics and anything, Leo. I know even less than I do in biology. But did you see when I put up that plasmology paper that I actually put a few physical words in there? I did that for you as well, Leo.
I
googled what fermions and all that kind of stuff was, and I stuck it in there. Just it was my bit of nod to Leo there.
Say, David, I gotta drop out. I got a conversation with a friend coming up here in a minute.
All right, good night.
Who are you talking with?
Is that me?
Kayla from Arizona.
Oh, so that's not me because you haven't had conversations with me for a while.
No, she's a personal friend from.
Oh, okay, never mind.
From my group.
Have fun, Speed. There you go.
No, she's like, I don't know. I think she was like 12 when we moved into this place. It's not that kind of thing, but she's got a. This is an odd thing. She has schwannoma. She has like a kind of cancer in her neck, in her vagus nerve.
Ooh,
and she's like 1 in a million people that get it or something like that, or 10 million. It's just ridiculous. And anyway, kind of worried about her. But it's basically the Schwann cells are the things that wrap around your neurons. And hers have grown to the size where they're actually distorting her neck. And it's like around this one nerve. It's pretty fucking bizarre. But
yeah, they can't operate or anything, Speed?
They have to be very careful because she would be paralyzed. She wouldn't be able to talk. No facial expressions, everything. So it's really, really bizarre. So anyway, I haven't talked to her for a while, so I'm gonna run off and talk to her. But it's really weird when you win that kind of a lottery. But anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Take care, Speed.
Boomer.
Yeah. Later. Bye.
All right. Leo, you're next.
I mean, I don't. What am I supposed to say?
Yeah, anything you want.
Check me out on my channel if you like space science and physics.
Maybe talk about anything interesting upcoming on your channel, Leo.
I don't really have anything interesting upcoming on my channel
Is
until
there any upcoming Dr. Eigenstate kind of episodes?
I'm going to be releasing my first Dr. Eigenstate Explained episode when I get my $600 check.
Talking about it for a while, Leo. That's why I've been asking.
The thing is, I can't do it unless I have a tablet because I don't want to just be like a talking head because that's not going to help people understand it. I got to be able to like draw some like fancy
pictures. It's a pretty head, though, Leo. It's a pretty head.
So I got to wait for my $600 check to come so that I can buy an iPad mini, and then I got to wait for that to get here. So it might still be a couple weeks yet before I'm able to put out a video because I don't have any other content that I can really put out or like want to put out right now.
Well, there's that standing offer that we can debate Emilia Clarke versus Jessica Alba anytime you want to fill in debate.
But there's just no debate to be had. It's like arguing God versus Albert Einstein. I mean, where Jessica Alba is Albert Einstein and Emilia Clarke is God.
I think it's more Isaac Newton versus Albert Einstein.
I'd still take Albert Einstein.
Oh, I don't know.
And in that case, Emilia Clarke would be Albert Einstein.
Yeah. Hey, actually, David, I do have a topic. Maybe I don't know if you want to talk about it now or whatever, but just around because I know you've got a debate channel that you've kind of got planned, David. It might be something for you as well. So one of the things I had posed to James, which he wasn't super keen on, I don't know why, was I said, look, I'm that debate with Neff is my first one, but if you want me to kind of get into the debate spirit, I don't really want to argue or debate anyone in the science because as I'm fair dinkum, I don't know much about the science. I listen to you guys so I can learn, but I'm not the right person to speak to when it comes to biology or cosmology or anything, right? You guys do much better. However, what I think I'm quite good at is I think quite funny. So I'm happy to kind of debate fun and lighthearted type topics like, pineapple or pizza, yes or no, which is better, Italian versus Chinese food. So I kind of asked James, well, I obviously agree. I actually have Luca McDougall happy to debate me on that. And obviously he's going to take the side of Italian and I'm not going to take the side of Chinese. But I have a couple of gotcha kind of twists to a lot of these debates anyway. So I asked James if he's happy to kind of host those type of fun debates on modern day debate. And he basically said not in the short term or near future. He wants to get more serious. So David, I guess the question to you or Leo, I know your channel, if you have any, you had some other suggestions. Do you think there is a channel that would be happy to kind of support these more fun, light-hearted type debate conversations. Nothing serious, you know. They're kind of fun conversations to be had, and I'm happy to do them. And I've got a couple of people really lined up, like, you know, which is tastier, Chinese versus Italian food. Me and Luca McDonough is happy to debate that. I've also got someone to debate, you know, pineapple on pizza, yes or no. So, you know, if you know of any channels that would like to do something like this, just let me know.
That'll be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Orge, your last, but not least. So,
yeah, I say thanks everyone for showing up. I guess I'll say in my channel, I'm finishing up my current series on weird flat earthers that hate churches and stuff. That's been a time. Actually, that guy, funny enough, has been streaming live, so I hope to get in one of his streams one of these times to ask him. Flat Earth Nation. But yeah, I'm glad I got to listen. It was a fun time. So thanks for having us, Dave.
All right, yeah, no problem. All right, everyone, good night. So long, and there will probably be an open mic sometime later this week or next week. So just subscribe, hit the bell notification if you want more of these. All right.